Let's be honest, keeping your financial ducks in a row in the US today feels, well, less like smooth sailing and more like navigating a minefield.
Totally. Budgeting apps, investing, taxes, loans. It's a lot.
And if you've ever felt that urge to just hand it all over to a professional and, the hefty fees that come with that, you are definitely not alone.
It's a very real pain point.
Mm.
And it's one where we're seeing technology starting to step in.
AI.
Specifically large language models, or LLMs. They've created significant buzz, a lot of potential.
LLMs,
Yeah.
right. So, quick refresher for everyone. These are AI systems trained on just colossal data sets.
Exactly. They have a deep understanding of language.
Huh.
Think of them as incredibly sophisticated tools that can process info and generate really human-like text.
Which opens up some fascinating possibilities. Answering questions, maybe even offering guidance. We've certainly seen them making waves.
Absolutely. And that really brings us to the heart of this discussion today. We've got some compelling findings from a recent study. It's a rigorous evaluation, actually just accepted for publication in Applied Economics.
Oh, wow. A respected journal.
Yeah. And they put some of the leading LLMs through their paces, specifically on U.S. personal finance.
Which ones did they look at?
OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, Anthropic's Claude, and Meta's Llama. Tested their accuracy across crucial areas: mortgages, taxes, loans, investments. The works.
Okay, so what we're doing today is essentially cutting through the noise. We're diving deep into this research, pulling out the key insights for you, giving you a clear picture of where AI stands right now with personal finance advice.
What it's getting right, and importantly, where the red flags might still be.
Think of it as your informed shortcut. So let's unpack the big picture first. Overall accuracy, what did the study find?
Okay, so across all the questions they were posed, the study found an average accuracy rate of around 70%.
70%. Okay, so respectable, maybe. But what does that really tell us about relying on AI for our finances?
Well, that 70% average is interesting, but it also really highlights a crucial point.
Which is?
While AI is definitely showing promise, it's not quite a guaranteed solution.
Yeah.
Especially when you get into more complex financial scenarios.
Right.
And the researchers also noted pretty significant differences in performance depending on the specific financial topic.
Okay, so not a one-size-fits-all level of reliability. But I remember reading that the newer versions, they're getting better.
Precisely. And this is a really encouraging trend. The study specifically mentioned notable improvements in newer versions.
How notable?
Well, older models were kind of hovering in the 50–60% accuracy range.
Okay.
But the latest ones, they're reaching upwards of 80% in some cases.
Wow, 80%. That's a big jump from 50–60%.
It really is. It underscores just how quickly this tech is evolving. Future versions could be, significantly more reliable.
That's a pretty significant leap forward. So who are the top performers in this financial literacy test for AI?
According to this research, the frontrunners were the latest versions of ChatGPT, like the newer ChatGPT 4.0 and Claude, specifically the advanced Claude 3.5 Sonnet model.
Okay.
Both of those manage accuracy rates over 74%.
Over 74%. That's clearly a step ahead of some others then.
Definitely. For instance, the study mentioned Llama 370B had a lower accuracy rate, somewhere around 65%.
65. Okay, so there's definitely a performance spectrum here, even among the big names.
Absolutely. It's a key takeaway. Not all AI financial guidance is created equal right now.
Now, one thing that's always in the back of my mind with AI is consistency. Like, if you ask the same financial question multiple times, do you get the same answer?
That's a critical point, right? For building any kind of trust.
Yeah.
And the study did look at it directly. The reassuring finding was that, yes, the LLMs consistently gave the same answers when prompted with the same questions multiple times.
Oh, that's good.
So at least in terms of consistency, they seem to be on pretty solid ground.
Okay, so we've got the broad strokes. Around 70% average accuracy. Newer models improving significantly. ChatGPT and Claude leading. And they're consistent.
Yep, that sums up the overview.
Right. Now, let's zoom in. Personal finance is so diverse. How did these AI models handle different topics?
Yeah, the researchers took a really granular approach. They looked at several key areas to see where the models shined and where they stumbled.
Okay, where should we start?
Let's begin with credit cards.
Yeah.
Super fundamental for so many people.
Absolutely. Understanding APR, credit scores, rewards, it can be surprisingly tricky.
Exactly. And the LLM showed a really wide range of performance on credit card questions. ChatGPT-4 really stood out about 80% accuracy there.
80%, nice.
But models like Gemini, Claude 3 Haiku, and Llama 3 8B, they struggle quite a bit. Accuracy down around 40%.
40%. Wow, that's a huge difference.
It really highlights that even seemingly straightforward financial concepts can trip up some of these AI models.
So if you're thinking of asking an AI about credit cards, the specific model you use could make a massive difference.
Absolutely critical.
What about financial guidance tailored for women? That's an area with specific needs and considerations.
Interestingly, most of the AI models did quite well there. Accuracy rates generally in the 80 to 90% range.
Well, that's good to hear.
It suggests their training data probably includes a good amount of info addressing the unique financial circumstances and challenges women often face.
That's encouraging. Suggests some inclusivity in the training.
Definitely a positive sign.
Okay, another area where finance and life intersect, relationships. Money and relationships, how do the AIs handle that?
Again, generally strong performance. Most LLMs scored between 70% and actually up to 100% accuracy.
Wow, 100%?
Yeah, in some cases. It indicates a good capability in navigating what can be a very sensitive, often stressful topic.
Okay, from personal to a major life decision, buying a home, mortgages, huge undertaking. How do they do there?
Performance was more moderate, ranging from about 60% up to 90% accuracy.
60 to 90, so a bit of a range again.
Exactly. It suggests AI could potentially be helpful for guiding prospective homeowners through, mortgage options, rates, repayments.
But maybe not perfectly reliable across the board yet.
Seems that way. The range suggests variability, though the study didn't detail exactly which mortgage aspects were easier or harder for them in the part I saw.
Gotcha. What about student loans? Another huge one for many people in the U.S.
Student loans showed generally good performance. Most models scored in the 70 to 80% range.
70 to 80, so decent potential there.
Yeah, potential to help students understand borrowing, repayment strategies, maybe even things like loan consolidation.
Okay. And finally, the one that makes everyone groan, taxes. U.S. taxes, maybe even international stuff. Super complex. How did they do?
Reasonably good performance there, too. Accuracy rates between 70% and 90%.
70 to 90 again.
Yeah, so it suggests AI has a fair capability to process and understand the complexities of tax regulations. Could be valuable for people trying to manage their tax obligations.
So it really sounds like a mixed bag. Strong in some areas, limitations in others. Now, the study also looked at question difficulty, right? Beginner, intermediate, advanced.
That's correct.
Yeah.
They use the National Financial Educators Council dataset, which categorizes questions that way.
And what did they find? Did the AI struggle more with the really tough financial questions?
The general trend was, yes, LLMs do tend to find advanced-level financial questions more challenging.
Makes sense.
But, and this is important, it goes back to that trend we mentioned, the newer models, especially the latest ChatGPT and Claude versions, showed considerable improvement in handling these more complex queries.
Okay, so they're getting better at the tricky stuff, but maybe not quite ready to handle highly sophisticated scenarios with, let's say, complete reliability just yet.
That seems like a fair assessment based on this study.
Now, this study doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? There's other research on AI and finance.
Absolutely. The study's introduction actually referenced some other relevant work.
Yeah.
For instance, a 2023 study, Nsota and Abbas. They specifically tested the financial literacy of GPT models, found that GPT-4 got a near-perfect score, 99%.
99%.
Yeah, compared to GPT 3.5, which was down around 65, 66%. It just shows the massive leap in AI's grasp of basic financial concepts.
That's incredible. A near-perfect score. Makes you wonder if it could even surpass humans in some areas.
It certainly points to a significant capability. And another study, Kim et al., in 2024 found GPT-4 could even outperform human analysts in predicting company earnings from financial statements.
Whoa. Okay, so we're moving beyond basic definitions into some pretty sophisticated financial reasoning.
Demonstrating proficiency in complex financial analysis, yeah.
But I think you mentioned some research that was a bit more cautious.
Yeah, exactly. A 2023 study by Lakharaju and colleagues compared ChatGPT and Bard to a rule-based system called Safe Finance.
A rule-based system.
Yeah, more like a traditional program following set rules.
Mm-hmm.
And while the LLMs sounded plausible, they sometimes made significant errors retrieving accurate financial info and were inconsistent in their advice. Safe Finance, though narrower in scope, was more reliable within its boundaries.
Ah, okay. So just because it sounds right doesn't mean it is right, especially when money's on the line.
Precisely. It's a really important cautionary note. plausibility isn't the same as accuracy, particularly for critical decisions.
Makes sense.
You know?
And what about AI in more dynamic areas, like trading or market analysis? Was there anything on that?
The paper briefly touched on that too. Research by Yu et al. In 2023 looked at an LLM-based trading agent.
A trading agent.
Yeah, designed to make decisions in fluctuating markets. The findings suggested it could adapt and perform effectively. And another, Ding et al., also in 2023, looked at using LLMs to process financial news to improve stock market predictions.
So hinting at broader applications beyond just personal advice.
Exactly. AI making inroads across finance, but with, varying success and reliability so far.
Okay, looking ahead then. What did the studies suggest are promising directions for future research in this area?
They highlighted a few key things. One big one is enhancing model interpretability.
Interpretability, meaning?
Basically, understanding why the AI gives a certain recommendation. That's crucial for building user trust.
Absolutely. You want to know the reasoning.
Right. Another is integrating real-time data, so the AI can give advice based on the absolute latest market conditions and news.
That seems vital for finance.
Definitely. And finally, they mentioned exploring the intersection of AI with behavioral finance.
Ah, the psychology of money?
Exactly. Understanding and maybe even helping mitigate the psychological biases that affect our financial choices.
So the future seems focused on making AI in finance not just more accurate, but also more transparent, timely, and maybe even more human aware.
That's a good way to put it. It's a fascinating trajectory.
Okay, so bringing it all together, what's the central message for us, for the listeners, from this deep dive into AI and personal finance?
I think the key takeaway is balance. Current AI models show considerable promise, and they are getting more accurate.
Right.
But they are not yet a flawless or universally reliable solution, especially for complex financial stuff.
So potential, but proceed with caution.
Exactly. Acknowledge the potential benefits, but stay very aware of the limitations and the need for ongoing development and, frankly, careful evaluation.
That's a really crucial point. We're not quite at the point of just handing everything over yet.
Not quite yet.
So here's something for you, the listener, to consider based on all this. What specific personal finance tasks do you think AI could realistically help you with in the near future?
And maybe, what are your biggest hopes or perhaps reservations about using AI for your own money management?
It's worth thinking about.
And as you reflect, we'd encourage you to maybe look into the ongoing research if you're interested. Consider experimenting cautiously with these tools.
Cautiously being the key word.
Definitely. And always verify any critical financial advice you get, whether it's from an AI, a blog, or even your neighbor. Double check.
Great advice. Ultimately, AI's role in helping us navigate personal finance is still evolving, isn't it?
It really is. Early stages, but definitely an exciting field with real potential to empower people down the line.
Empower individuals to make more informed decisions. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
My pleasure.